What's going on, guys? Evil Dragon here, back with another Dead by Daylight video. I know I'm doing a lot of these recently. That's because I am playing so much Dead by Daylight I guess, excitement for Springtrap to be coming. Of course, I'm going to have to wait a lot longer than other people because of the PTB coming out and I'm a console player, which really sucks. But regardless, I wanted to make a video on this here, which is one perk I like for every single killer in Dead by Daylight, which is why recently on, of course, YouTube, I did some streams of just playing the majority of killers on my off time. I played the other killers that I needed that I didn't really think were as much fun or I was not as good at, so I didn't get, bad footage with them. It would take several tries for me to get actually good footage with them. So yeah, regardless, I just want to do one perk on every single killer. And again, obviously Springtrap coming out soon, I could wait. At the same time, I have to actually wait another month-ish for Springtrap to come out, and then find a perk I like on them, and it would just take too long. So yeah, without further ado, we're going to start off with the Trapper, we're going to make our way down, and for Trapper, I like two perks. You can pick your poison. Agitation or Iron Grasp. Obviously, Basement Trapper is probably still the most effective way to win as Trapper, and so just getting them to the basement as fast as you can, whether from Iron Grasp so they don't wiggle off, or Agitation to just sprint down there as fast as you can, I think is the best way to use the perks. You also have stuff like Mad Grit, which obviously is kind of a risk and reward. If people aren't taking hits, it's really not going to do much. I do like Mad Grit as a perk. I just think if you want to get them to the basement as fast and efficiently as possible, use Agitation or Iron Grasp. Next, as the Wraith, I have Spies from the Shadows. This seems like a weird one, but I'm not sure about every stealth killer, because obviously some of them, like the Pig or Ghostface, they're still visible there, of course. But with the Wraith being invisible, I don't know if that plays a part at all. Of course, you are undetectable. But Wraith specifically, as far as I know, I don't know about the others, like I said, but Wraith doesn't scare off crows. And you can use that to your advantage with Spies from the Shadows to go ahead and, find people if you're near them, but you don't actually know where they are. They scare a crow, you know where they are. Of course, you could put on Language Touch to go ahead and make them exhausted from that. But I just think Spies from the Shadows is good for information, and it's just a good overall perk that you can use to go ahead and find people as the Wraith. Next, with Hillbilly, I love Hook, or Scorch Hook, Monster's Shrine. Obviously, Hillbilly is extremely fast. He can get around the map whenever he wants super easily. And so I like using the Scorch Hook because of the fact that you can just hook them in the basement, you can hook them on a Scorch Hook, and then you can go ahead and zoom to the other side of the map, and they're going to start to, go to the next stage on Hook 20% faster. Obviously, this is really good for characters who can teleport, like Demogorgan, like the Blight, who's super fast, like Freddy, who can teleport. Characters like that, this is really good, but I just think Hillbilly, with being genuinely one of the fastest killers, I really like it on him as well, because, you can use pain res and whatnot, and it works in collaboration with that, but I just think Scorch Monster Shrine is honestly a very underrated and very good perk on Hillbilly. Next, for the Nurse, I like being undetectable. Obviously, Aura perks are super good on the Nurse. If I were to state an Aura perk, it'd be Barbecue and Chili. But I like being undetectable because besides the noises, and of course you can just pop up and maybe get a grab, or just a sneaky hit from teleporting kind of far away. And so I like using Trail of Torment. Obviously, it's not really a good perk per se for the Nurse. You're not supposed to be kicking gens. That's why stuff like maybe Eruption, because then you do have to kick gen once, but not all the time. Or of course Pain Res is good, but I like you have to use Pop for that gen perk, but then you put on Trail of Torment onto the gen, because then you're undetectable. Of course they know what generator is the one they have to go ahead and do, and you can use that to your advantage, kind of maybe hide around it as well. Regardless, I just like that perk, making you undetectable to get some sneaky blink attacks off. Next, for Michael, Fire Up. I mean, his beginning of the game is super slow, super tedious, so having that little boost as you're trying to get up there, obviously it's not as bad as it once was, but Fire Up is also a lot better than it once was. So now when you enter your tier 2, of course you vault slightly faster, and then if you have some Fire Up stacks, you vault even faster, add that onto tier 3, and then you break pallets faster, you vault faster, so in Chase you're just relatively good with Fire Up there, so I like that. Next, moving on, we have the Huntress. I don't play Huntress a lot, and when I do, I kind of have the same build, whether I win or lose. I do like the perk, the Third Seal, Hex the Third Seal from the Hag, and the reason why is with the Huntress. This perk's interesting because what it does is when you injure someone, they go ahead and get the blindness status effect, and it lasts for every single survivor that you injure for the last 4. So obviously if you have like the, I gotta say blue, the green or blue version now, it only works for the last 2 or 3 people you injured. But if you have it at the highest rarity, of course the purple, then if you hit every single survivor, they're just blind until they do that totem. So they can't see auras of their fellow survivors, of the killer, they can't see the generator auras, or they can't even see their own survivors on hook. It can be very, very devastating, and I just like it because, again, with the Huntress hatchets, if you're good at hitting them, I'm not, but if you're good at hitting them, you can just make everybody injured pretty fast, and then they're, of course, all blinded. Next, we have the Hag, and I very rarely play the Hag, so when I actually did play the Hag, I don't remember if it was on stream or on my own time, but I just kind of came up with a random build and that I've seen, and then I played a couple more matches on my own time, and I was like, you know what, this build kind of works. I like the perk, make your choice. Obviously, with the Mint Rag add-on, you can teleport to anywhere across the map, so if you just hide a little trap nearby, they get unhooked off the hook. Of course, when Survivor does that, they get the Make Your Choice Exposed effect, so you go ahead and you just teleport right over and you down them. I did like that a lot. I did like playing that a lot, and considering I had quite a lot of the add-on saved up, I just played Hag like 2 or 3 matches. I'm like, you know what, even though I don't play this killer, and I really don't know what perk to recommend, that's a nice one, so make your choice it is. Now, with Doctor, I really like Rapid Brutality, and the main reason why is because when you hit someone, you get that 5% speed boost. Of course, you don't get Bloodlust, but with the Doctor, you're going to be stunning people, hitting them by a pallet or a vault, usually a window, whatever. And so, being that they're stunned and they can't vault it right away, you hit them, you get that speed boost, and then maybe they vault it after their stun's over, whatever. It just is really good for them catching up around the loop, or if they leave the loop, so it's pretty good. Next, we have Leatherface. Leatherface is super fun. I love playing Leatherface, but again, Leatherface, one of the best things you can do with him is camp, and you can't do that anymore. So, and that was basement camping. But getting to the basement is still pretty much a death wish, because if you're nearby and they get saved, then you can just go right down and get both of the people, the one who saved and the one who just got off hook there. So again, I'm going to put Agitation or Iron Grasp. You can pick your poison for, of course, holding them on your shoulder longer or just getting there faster. Doesn't matter. But yeah, one of those two getting to basement faster perks. Next, we have Freddy. And Freddy, I usually use an endgame build. Ever since they nerfed Save the Best for Last, I did really like that perk as a slowdown for Freddy, but then I still was using it, but then they buffed Remember Me, and I really like Remember Me, so if I had to choose for this endgame build that I always use, which is the same 4 perks of No Way Out, Blood Warden, Hex Noed, and Remember Me, I would pick Remember Me just because I really like the perk. Obviously you do have to tunnel your obsession out, which does suck, but just using that as a perk, making doors super slow, it throws a lot of people off, so I'm going to use Remember Me. Next, we have the Pig, and with the Pig, I like using Monitor and Abuse, the Doctor's perk. It's a very weird perk, because of course it used to make your FOV bigger, and I felt as the Pig, I don't know why, I just liked it back then, but now I still use it because for the traps. If someone has a trap on their head, usually even with a terror radius, they'll typically stick it out and go ahead and, try and stay as long as they can on the trap before they have to run on the sawbox. However, if you're in the middle of a chase, because of course your terror radius normally is 32 meters for the Pig. If you're crouched, it's undetectable. But if you have Monitor or Abuse and you're standing up, your terror radius goes down to 24 meters, 8 meters smaller. But then if you go into a chase, it's 8 meters bigger with the 32, so it goes to 40 meters. So it can be this really weird game of all of a sudden, maybe you're not close enough in that 24 meters so the survivor doing the trap doesn't hear you, and all of a sudden you get into a chase, and they all of a sudden just hear you like the snap of a finger. And then, of course, you exit the chase and they don't hear you again, and it's weird. And then you start to get closer and closer, and they hear you, and then someone maybe tries to help them out because they're doing their box. They run in front, you get into chase, it just gets super loud. It's a really weird mind game I like with Monitor and Abuse that I find just works really well. So that's why I would say that perk for the Pig. Next, we have Coup de Grace for the Clown. And the reason why is when you lunge, of course, it takes into account your base speed, but then also your haste stacks. So the faster you go, or the more speed you have, the more haste stacks you have, is also the farther you go. So you stack that on with the Clown's bottles, and then maybe batteries included, or play with your food, or some other haste perk to make yourself faster. You'll go farther with Coup de Grace, you'll also go faster. I just like that as a perk, because then you can get these incredible lunges that you might normally not be able to get, and it just works really well. So yeah, then for the Spirit, you might think, well, if you're a basic Spirit, you don't always use Strider, which is that nurse perk that makes breathing and grunts of pain louder when you're injured, or just louder in general. However, instead of that, because again, that's more of a basic Spirit perk, you don't have to use it. Of course, you might use it when you're learning, but as you get better, you don't really need it. But instead, I would use Devour Hope. Spirit can really travel around the map relatively quickly, not as fast as Blight or even Demogorgon with his teleporting. However, being able to be undetectable while you, of course, phase, instead of, obviously you still make a noise, but for the most part you are undetectable. You can sneak up onto your totem or your Undying totem, to go ahead and protect Devour Hope, so that towards the end of the game, considering you can also zoom away from hooks really fast, you get that Devour Hope stack, it can just really add up, and then you come out of your phase, you hit people, it's an instant down on a special attack, just an M1 attack, and so at the end of the day, it just ends up helping you a lot. Next, we have the Legion, and for a Legion perk that I really like, it'll just be the standard Thanatophobia. If I had to pick another one, I would say Dying Light. Dying Light's just a really good perk that stacks with Thanatophobia. But Thanatophobia, again, being able to injure everyone super fast as a Legion, just means that they get that 20% negative buff towards healing and gens and everything that comes with that. So yeah, Thanatophobia. With the Plague, again, similarly, Thanatophobia. If I wanted to choose another perk, I do like Rancor with the Plague, because they're constantly injured, of course, and then all of a sudden they might heal towards the end game so that they can get to doors and stuff, and oh, hey, they get one shot because of Rancor. It also gives you that little aura stuff, but again, it'll just be, I'll say, Thanatophobia, because again, for the most part, they're all broken and injured, so it just stacks up there. Next, we have Ghostface, and for Ghostface, due to, of course, usually you're being cloaked for the most part, even in chase, if someone's marked, of course, they can't uncloak you, but even if they're not marked and they're injured and you go cloak, you want to play around that. You want to use your undetectability to your advantage, and doing that, I'm all ears. When someone fast vaults, of course, you see them for a certain amount of time, you can stack that up with Lethal Pursuer, but again, it's just really good so that you can go ahead and use that to your advantage. Again, running around people who, vaulted, you're playing around with them, maybe sneaking around if you're undetectable. I like that perk. Again, maybe as a secondary perk, Lethal Pursuer could be considered better, because you just find people right away and then go ahead and maybe mark a whole bunch of survivors at the start, which would be really good. But yeah, I'll say I'm all ears, because again, it could just be good in chase. Next for the Demogorgon, I haven't really played Demogorgon. I wasn't really going to have a perk similar to the Hag, because I just never played them. And then I played the Demogorgon several times when I came up with the build on stream. Off stream, the build that I've used was Spirit Fury with its Ancient Tactics. I actually really like this, because of the add-on that makes you break stuff faster. When you use your power, it makes you a lot faster than normal break speed. So using that with Ancient Tactics, so of course someone drops a pallet, you break it, get the Spirit Fury buff there. It can just be really good. So I'm going to say, as a whole, Spirit Fury such as Ancient Tactics, I just really like. Next, we have the Oni, and the Oni, similarly, I really like Spirit Fury on the Oni, because of the fact that when you go into your Blood Fury, and you get stunned a whole lot, you can kind of force that into, of course, you don't break pallets faster, I believe. It might be faster, I'm not 100% sure, but the fact that you're going to be breaking pallets a lot just so that you can zoom around the map more and stuff, you'll have that Spirit Fury, so then when you get stunned, of course, when you're in that Oni state, that Blood Fury state, you get stunned, it breaks, and then you can immediately go ahead and either use a Demon Dash to catch up to them. Obviously, with Enduring, it'll take no time, but usually you just go for the longer lunge, and you can down them almost 100% of the time. I just like that as a combo, so we'll say Spirit Fury. For the Death Slayer is a very M1 heavy character, so any M1 perk like Sloppy Butcher or Remember Me for the Obsession, Save the Best for Last, anything like that could be really good, but I'm going to go ahead with Rapid Brutality, similar to the Doctor. Again, you hit someone, you reel them in, you hit them. Obviously, you have to reload, so that 5% speed bonus helps out there, but also it just helps to catch back up because you are a slower character as the Death Slayer, being at range. So yeah, I just like that Rapid Brutality, being able to catch up faster. It just helps because you are an M1 heavy character. Then with the Executioner, I like the combination of two hexes, Hex Retribution and Hex Plaything. When you hook someone with Hex Plaything, of course, they're oblivious until they cleanse their totem, and when a Hex totem is cleansed, and as long as it's not Hex Retribution, it works with Retribution, but you don't want it to go away. Whenever a Hex totem, gets cleansed with Retribution, then every survivor for around 14 seconds, I believe, you can see their aura. Very good, especially if you're in chase. You can go ahead and snipe them with your power as Executioner. It just works really well in that middle game there as they're trying to get their totems done, cleaned out. And even if they do a dull totem with Retribution, they're just oblivious for a certain amount of time as well, so that's not bad. If you come across someone and they don't know, you can get a nice cheeky snipe there too. Next with the Blight, Tinkerer. Of course, a really good Blight, obviously it doesn't matter whether you're undetectable or not. You can obviously go ahead and take people out really quickly, really fast. It does not matter. For me, as someone who doesn't play the Blight too often and isn't really good, I just like Tinkerer because of the fact that you can come up on people silently. You can just pop up out of nowhere, scare them a little bit. It just works really well with that, and then potentially get a cheeky down from that. So I'm going to say Tinkerer. Next, with the Twins, Insidious. Insidious Twins has always been just a really good perk. It doesn't work much anymore because you can't, of course, hook camp, but you can still proxy camp, be somewhat close, so of course the timer doesn't go up, but close enough that survivors, might think you're on Victor. What you do is, of course, you launch Victor out, And usually when that happens, Charlotte becomes undetectable. So you use your red glare, you lose everything. Instead, you just use Insidious. You send Victor out into an area nearby the hook. So of course you're not hook camping, but then you get, of course, that kind of like UAV that Victor does. You know, you get the killer instinct that he starts telling you where everybody is. And again, they don't realize that Victor's not, you know, of course, until maybe they're close enough, they realize Victor's standing still. But when you're Insidious camping or just sitting there, you act like Charlotte is, you're playing as Victor. You act like Charlotte just is undetectable there because of Insidious. You're just standing still, not doing anything. People realize, you pop back up, and you get a cheeky hit off. So yeah, Insidious for the twins. Next with the Trickster, of course, I'm going to go with Iron Maiden. Obviously, Iron Maiden is a good perk on both Huntress and Trickster, but I did Third Seal for Huntress because I just like that perk better. It doesn't work the same as Trickster, and the reason why, of course, is you have to hit a lot more knives. It just takes a lot more time. So I'll just go with a simple Iron Maiden, having to reload a lot faster because of how many knives you need and have and can carry. It just works a lot better and is a lot stronger. Then with the Nemesis, similar actually to the Huntress, I'm going to go with the Third Seal. Third Seal. And the reason why? Obviously, you have to infect someone and infect them after, so you have to hit them twice. But at that point, when they're infected, and even the zombie might infect them. But again, it is just a one hit, so when they get the blind status effect, it's very easy to just go ahead and spread it around. So it, again, it infects them in that longer game that they can't see hooks, they can't see auras of yourself as the killer or the survivors. It just, makes them a little more difficult, and they have to go ahead and cleanse that because they have that permanent blind status effect. And again, it's just easy to apply on the Nemesis. Then with the setup buy, I'll go ahead and say I think the easiest one is Franklin's Demise. You hit someone, they drop their item, but this works for unique items too. I don't know if it is flashbangs or anything, but specifically with Pinhead, it works with the cube. You hit them, they drop the cube, you can go ahead and solve it. Force Chain Hunt, see all the auras, of course. So again, it's just that nice perk that works that way. Then with the Artist, I have Pentimento and Plaything. The reason why is, of course, with your birds, you can go ahead and look at all your totems, send your birds towards the totems. Of course, you can do that for generators, but that way you can guard your totems even from across the map because, it hits someone, gets some birds, and if they're still doing that, you can get a cheeky injure off. Yeah, you might lose the totem, but if it's a plaything, then you can put Pentimento back up, or if it's a Pentimento, you maybe have other ones set up. Whatever the case, I like that combo there. With the Onryo, Dragon's Grip, I know a really weird one. Even Make Your Choice could be a solid option if the hook is near a TV, but every single generator has a TV nearby, of course, so that you can go ahead and get the stacks of Condemned on the survivors when you teleport around. So having Dragon's Grip, you hear the Dragon's Grip pop, go off, you can quickly teleport over as long as the TV is on, and you can get a cheeky exposed hit. With the Dredge, I have saved the best for last, and the reason why mainly is because hook camping or proxy camping is actually kind of easy with the Dredge, and the reason why is you can set up your little rhombus diamond thing to teleport over, and it doesn't count as camping, so you can just set it nearby and then teleport right back over, get a save the best for last hook if you know someone's going over or whatever, or easy stacks. Or again, I just find it easy in chase to use with the teleporting around, so I'm going to go save the best for last, even though it has been nerfed, obviously. With Wesker, this one could definitely be changed even to Billy, and I believe Blight now, and Ghoul, who has 40 meter terror radiuses, but at the time, when it was just Wesker with the 40 meter terror radius, and I still use it on him because I just like the perk, Distressing, giving you, a 26% bigger terror radius, so around 50-something meters, 51, 52 meters for Wesker, which is not bad. It is very big and very good. So that one there. Then with the Knight, I'll go ahead and say batteries included / Spirit Fury. Spirit Fury used to work. Again, I barely play the Knight, so it used to work when you would use the Carnifex on a pallet. You would then get Spirit Fury stacks. It doesn't anymore. So for that point, I still haven't changed my build. I barely play Knight. I'm just using what I go off of here. And with that point, though, batteries included, obviously just getting a recent buff works really well because, maybe you go ahead and you're near a gen, you set up your Knight to move faster, and then you can kind of run around and, pincer maneuver a survivor, so it works really well with that there. With the Merchant, I literally wrote down my notes. I don't give a curse word, and the reason why is this Skull Merchant's been changed so many times. They're getting another change to have a ranged attack, I guess, soon. I would say, again, with the 3-gen meta, it would have been gen perks and stuff, but again, I do not play the Skull Merchant. I haven't played the Skull Merchant in actual years. I haven't played since I had to get footage just for this little rant here. I don't care about the Skull Merchant, so if you want a perk, I don't have any suggestions. I apologize there. Let's just give a random one, a gen perk, I don't know, Overcharge, because you can still set your cams or drones onto a gen, and it doesn't do anything, so I don't even know there. With the Singularity, I'm going to say either Unrelenting, because you're going to be swinging through pallets a lot while overclocked, and that means the pallet's going to stun you. Enduring works with that as well, but of course Unrelenting gets you that recovery faster, so that one's not too bad. Or even Knockout. Of course, because you're going to be in overclocked, hopefully in chase, getting stunned. When a survivor drops a pallet and then leaves the area, they're slower by a certain percentage for 6 seconds, so that allows you to catch up quicker. That also works with Rapid Brutality as well. If they drop a pallet, you still get the hit off through it, and then they run away, you're 5% faster, they're 5% slower, so a whole build like that could work, but I'm going to say either Unrelenting or Knockout, because they're really obscure perks, but they work really well. Then with Chucky, I rarely use Chucky ever since Chucky's been changed again, but I'm going to go ahead and say Claustrophobia, just because when you're in chase, you can still vault over pallets, or in this case windows. They cannot, so you can, if they're trying to loop for whatever reason around a really super long wall that has a window, you can vault it. Or I'm going to go ahead and say I forget the unknown perk, the one they just buffed, where now if you injure someone and then vault, again, it counts as a scamper. If you go in your slice and dice mode and vault something, you're then 10% faster or 7% faster, whatever it is, so that's also not too bad because you can catch up super fast. With the unknown, I'm going to say Grim Embrace, because of the way your teleports work, setting them up all around the map, hopefully, whether in chases or not, use that for that. I use it for map traversability. You can go ahead and teleport super far away, and it activates Grim Embrace right away, so that's a really solid perk there. Next, with Vecna, I'm going to go ahead and say Nowhere to Hide. Obviously, Vecna is, again, in my opinion, a really good killer. The third best, I would say, currently, behind Kaneki and the Nurse. But he still needs help with gen perks, like every single killer, pain res, all this stuff. I'm just going to go ahead and say Nowhere to Hide, because I like Eruption Nowhere to Hide. That works out really well. You kick someone, you see them, or you kick the gen, you go ahead and see where they are, and maybe you down them, and of course you set up Eruption on it, so it gets blown up and loses percentage. It's not a bad combo, but yeah, Nowhere to Hide, just because, again, whenever your sphere is on cooldown, having that little aura of stuff can help there. With Dracula, I use an endgame build, but I specifically go ahead and use Remember Me again. That's just my favorite one. It works really well with endgame builds, because again, whenever I play Dracula, I typically just use the shield that makes fire spawn at the end, so that's why I use an endgame build. I just think it works really well, so I'll just go ahead and say Remember Me there. After Dracula, we of course have the Hound Master, and I'm going to say either Save the Best for Last or Rapid Brutality, and again, the reason why is with Rapid Brutality, you catch up super fast after, of course, they're stuck with the dog, or there's an add-on with the dog that they said they would change and buff back up, but they haven't. It's still 2% when you hit someone and they're attached to the dog. You get a 2% faster cooldown. That's just a small stack to Save the Best for Last, but again, it just helps you catch up faster, so I like that, so we're going to say Save the Best for Last. And finally, we get to Kaneki, the Ghoul, and I'm going to go ahead and say Brutal Strength. Obviously, they really nerfed Kaneki with the pallets. You drop a pallet, you kick it, and of course you can't use his ability, but even now, removing all the pallets from the map is still probably the best way you can win. And again, being such a good killer, even after all those cooldown stuff, you can catch up in seconds. So of course, breaking a pallet just means they're gone. Another one I would say is Blood Favor, because again, then you don't have that worry about that downside. It's not too bad there. But regardless, I'll just say Brutal Strength there. I don't have, of course, a perk for Springtrap, because Springtrap hasn't come out yet, and I have to come up with a whole build and an idea for Springtrap, so we're going to leave Springtrap to maybe a future video of this caliber in the future. But yeah, that was all the perk ideas for all the killers in the game currently, the 39 killers. So maybe if you want to see something with the add-ons or something, because obviously all the add-ons are different, and I like using different add-ons all the time, let me know. But without further ado, hope you guys did enjoy nonetheless. Maybe leave a like, maybe leave a nice comment down below, maybe hit that subscribe button, hit that little bell, and I'll see y'all next time for some more Dead by Daylight. Bye, everybody.